Hello, I'm Vicky. I am a breathwork facilitator. I run a small business called The Heal Good Factor that is focused around self-development, natural and alternative ways of healing and coming home to yourself and reclaiming your power and living life in alignment with who you truly are. If you've come across this video, then it's very likely that you have signed up for a conscious connected breathwork session, and this is the safety breathe, which you will be given some questions on, just to make sure that you've watched it. Conscious connected breathwork is not safe for everyone. There is a few contraindications. The main contraindication is pregnancy. So at any stage of pregnancy, it's not recommended to do any breathwork just because there is no research done on it. And also anyone who has issues with your heart, so cardiovascular issues, especially high blood pressure, conscious connected breathwork increases the heart rate, increases the blood pressure, and it is not recommended even if you're on medication for anyone who has heart issues, especially if you've had recent surgery. Because when we are in a deeply surrendered state during breathwork, it is really common that we move our bodies in certain ways during energetic release. So as you can imagine, if you've just had surgery somewhere and there is a new scar, it just increases the risk of something happening and further injuring that injury or surgery related scar. So yes, recent surgery and scars that are still healing, it's not recommended that you do this. It's just not recommended right now. So you can always come back to it another time or try some other more gentle breath work that doesn't involve going into an altered state. So what is conscious connected breath work? Now, I'm sure you're probably interested because you've seen videos on social media. You've probably heard somebody talk about the benefits. You might just be totally intrigued, but you might also really want to reap some of those benefits. And believe me, there are many, many benefits. So conscious connected breath work, I'm going to just break that down into the three words: conscious, connected and breathwork. Why is it called this? Now, I didn't invent this, so I'm not 100% sure, but given all of my training and knowledge on it, this is how I'm going to break it down. So the conscious part of it is you are consciously altering your breath. Now, as everybody knows, this is no secret that our bodies just breathe by themselves. Whatever higher forces operate in our bodies, it just does it automatically. It's not something that we have to think about, and that is such a gift when you really think about it. But your breath is ultimately a detox tool. It's not just providing your cells with the nourishment that it needs to be human. It actually releases a lot of gases and toxic gases that the body doesn't need as well. So it's actually a waste. It's actually a waste product as well for that purpose, but it also has so many other purposes that have been hidden from our knowledge. Consciously, we alter the pace and rhythm and depth in which we are breathing. So the conscious and the breath work kind of mean the same thing, if that makes sense, because breath work means to use the breath and to use it to work with an intention to do something. The work part of it is that we are consciously altering the breath. We are using mental energy to do it, as well as it working sort of in the background. So we are using it as a tool to speak to our nervous system, which I'll get onto shortly. The connected part now, this is what makes it different. I would say that all breath work is conscious. Although we can enter into an altered state where it no longer feels like it's in our control, but I'll delve into that later. So the connected part of conscious connected breathwork means that when we take an inhale and an exhale, there is no gap at either side. You don't hold the breath in between an inhale or an exhale or vice versa. The breath continuously moves. So it's in, out, in, out. Now we can count in for 4 seconds and out for 4 seconds. With regular breath work, there's generally a pause. There's generally a pause in between your inhale and exhale. So you might breathe in for 4 seconds, pause even for 1 or 2 seconds before you breathe back out. We do this naturally as humans. Even if it's a split second, what we try to do with conscious connected breath work is we keep it moving. When this happens, it speeds up a physiological process in our body, which then sends us into these altered states and also sends us into these benefits within the nervous system. Another part of conscious connected breathwork that is so important to remember is that you always breathe into your diaphragm, meaning that the lower part of your ribs, in between your ribs and your belly button, that should expand outwards when you take an inhale. Humans are supposed to breathe this way anyway, but we tend to, and there is so many people that do it, not everybody, but we tend to breathe the opposite way, where our diaphragm actually goes in instead of out. This has a lot of negative effects on our nervous system. It's like a form of shallow breathing that we usually do when our body's in a state of stress. So I will now explain to you a little bit more about the nervous system. We are consciously communicating in our bodies to sense the world. Those senses are communicated via our nervous system. There is a nerve that goes down the spine called the vagus nerve. This is what sends the signals to the body and creates hormones, telling us how to behave in the world, how to navigate the world, how to show up. This is an instinct that we have as an animal, as a human. Before any sort of soul and spirit comes into it, that's the human side of us, is our nervous system. We can define our nervous system into two parts. We have, not necessarily good or bad, it seems that way when I say this, but it's not, they are both needed. So for a survival point of view, we have a parasympathetic half of our nervous system and a sympathetic half. The parasympathetic side is the side that is responsible for rest, digest, recovery, peace, bliss and happiness. Okay, all of those things, all of those nice positive things, slow way of life, you know, the parts in between and just being, basically. And then we have our sympathetic nervous system. This kicks in at a survival instinct because of survival, to help us survive. It's not our enemy, it's there for a reason. Now, this is what we can call, and a lot of people would be very familiar with this, the fight, flight, freeze or fawn stage, right? It shows up when we're in danger in some way. So it's telling us that we need to fight. We need to run away. We need to maybe be nicer to somebody so that they don't attack us. That's the fawn stage. So that we can be part of a tribe and that we survive better in packs. So there is so much to it, but what happens when we are in that state, when that state is switched on, the other one is switched off. So our immune system is run by the parasympathetic nervous system. So when we are resting, what's happening is, say we have just been out gathering some food or we've been out hunting and we're going back to this primal state in our bodies, it is still operating in our systems because we are still human. However, in this new world, as you know, we aren't going out and hunting our food. Well, you know, most people anyway in the Western world. And, you know, we have a lot of convenience. We don't really have to do that. What we have to do is go to work and use our mental capacity, sometimes physical capacity. But we do put our bodies under stress through exercise, but that's a whole different kettle of fish. It's not really survival at that state, but we still have a primal instinct of survival. So if you imagine we have just been out hunting and we've exerted a lot of energy. You know, when you're out and you're chasing, a lot of things are shut down that you don't need. All of your energy has to go to your muscles and to your eyes even dilate so that you can focus, pinpoint on one thing, and your peripheral vision kind of closes down so that you can sense what's important and you can use your muscles to run away. So there is just so many different areas that your energy is put towards. And one of the major things that gets shut down that's not needed right now because it will come after is your immune system. Your immune system is the cells in your body, your white blood cells, your lymph fluid, everything that is going on that repairs your body, gets it back to working order. And this is what happens in your parasympathetic state. So when you are in a restful, peaceful state, your body is very gently just totting everything up, putting everything back where it should be. Everything's flowing, you're in a state of homeostasis, you're in balance, your hormones are just acting normally, you're getting the right amount of everything. So that's parasympathetic. And yeah, that's where we thrive a lot, because we have the mental capacity to think clearly and to see clearly, and our bodies are working at its fullest, and that is ultimate wellness. And also, when our bodies are fully repaired like that, it means that when we do genuinely have to use that sympathetic system, our bodies are in full working order to do whatever it needs to do. If you can imagine, if you were in a constant state of stress and your body wasn't healing or repairing, your chance of survival is very slim. None of your wounds would be healed. Your body wouldn't recover, you wouldn't have the energy. If you just got chased by something and then you sat down for 5 minutes and then got chased again, eventually you're going to run out of energy. So if it keeps going and keeps going, the body's just going to deplete. And it will do this internally. It will start to shut down certain parts hormonally, everything will go all over. And we kind of have a crisis in this day and age where a lot of people are in constant stress state, and it's not physical stress. Yes, sometimes it is. Some people are physically working themselves into the ground because they feel, we are in this system where we need money to survive, and we truly believe that we need more luxuries, we need more convenience, and we need more food regularly than our bodies actually need to. And we need to look good, we need to look a certain way and show up a certain way in order to survive in this world. So the system that we live in today is very far away from our nature, yet our bodies are still operating on a primal level. So that's that part out the way. And I'll just explain, with breathwork, there is two, again, we can split this into different types of breathwork. There's many, but I'm going to split it into two. Pranayama style breathwork is a relaxed parasympathetic state breathwork. It is putting your body into a deep, deep relaxed state. This can help with meditation, because when our bodies are relaxed, our vibrations lower, our brain waves lower, we can then completely shut our mind off and be free from that mental stress for a little while. So meditation is great for repairing the mental side of you, not just your physical. When we do conscious connected breath work, we are actually activating the sympathetic nervous system, and people be like, well, that's not very good. But when we put our bodies under voluntary stress, a chemistry sort of changes in our brain. And I like to summarize this as resilience. Now, everyone who goes to a gym, weight trains, or does any type of resistance training or athletic training, even just going for a jog, you are putting your body under a certain amount of stress. But what happens after that stress is happy hormones are released to come in and bring the body back into balance. So we have certain hormones that we class as happy hormones, make us feel good, motivate us, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, those type. And we can associate mainly cortisol and adrenaline with stress. So when we are going in the sympathetic state, we're releasing all this cortisol and adrenaline, and then when it's finished, the body will slam all these other happy hormones back in to bring it back to balance. The body's always looking for balance, okay? That's the best way to explain that. But why we are voluntarily putting our bodies under the stress, it does something to us internally and mentally. It also, it has this sort of clear out of old toxins within the oxygen that we are releasing. There is so many physiological benefits in terms of your immune system. Having slow shocks, like if there was no stress at all, our bodies would also wither away. Okay, because there would just be no point. It would have nothing to repair. This energy would just be left, would be slobs. There is proven studies that show sedentary people with stress-free lives, they don't live that long. We need this up and down in life. So when we train ourselves to voluntarily go into that stress state, it's almost like an exercise of the lungs. It is a workout of the lungs. That is simply what we are doing. We are working out the oxygen in our body. We're so used to working our muscles, and this is a working of our mind, our mental capacity, what we are capable of. And this is just when we are conscious connected breathing for short bursts of time. So we can do rounded conscious connected breath work, which, like I say, has these benefits of resilience. Yes, you can still have emotional releases, but ultimately you're getting the physiological benefits more than anything with the rounded breath works. But we can do longer sessions that have layers throughout the sessions, and I'm going to touch base on that now because this is so important for anyone who was signed up for an hour to 90-minute long breathwork session. So if you are going to be doing a prolonged conscious connected breathwork session, these usually have what we categorize as 4 different layers that you can potentially experience during this. And the first layer is the physical layer, and this is something that everyone will experience because you are physically using your body to breathe. So you are definitely going to feel some sensation. Now, usually when we are doing a deep conscious connected breathwork session, we usually go in and out through the mouth. Because we are breathing deeper and quicker without any gaps, it can really dry the throat up. So you're going to feel some dryness, you're going to maybe feel a little bit of itchiness in the throat. It always passes, okay? It always passes. It doesn't stay like that forever. You might cough a little bit. It's just while the body gets used to it. It's unfamiliar, so the body is going to then kick in the mental layer, which is next, but I'll continue explaining the physical layer and what can happen, what's normal and what's not normal. So everything is connected in this, by the way. In the physical sensation, it's not just feelings that you might feel, but you might actually have physical movement as well that you don't know where it's coming from. A lot of people may start to shake. This is so common. A lot of people might want to just tap or just jerks, spasm type things, type movements. And other people might have a change in temperature. They might go suddenly cold, they might go suddenly hot. Tingling sensation is so normal, particularly in the hands, around the mouth, and in the feet. Now, I don't know the scientific explanation. There is information on it. If anybody wants it off me, I can pass it on, but I can never remember the full science and the jargon behind it. But there is this thing called tetany, and your fingers tend to cramp up. Not everyone gets this. It's usually when people are breathing out too heavy and they're breathing out a little bit too much oxygen. It just means that there's not enough oxygen getting to the very nerve endings of the furthest away parts of our bodies, which is why this tetany kicks in, but it always comes back to normal. It's not forever. So if you do experience this, just know that it will pass and it's not forever. And it's just usually that there is a slight discrepancy in the exhale. Other physical sensations can be pain from an old injury or feelings and sensation, particularly around an old injury. Now, our bodies hold on to scar tissue and they hold on to energy. Emotional energy can store in the body. There's a whole lot of research on somatics. Somatic is to do with energy in the body. And there's a lot of trauma stores in there. So if anyone has been through any really traumatic events, PTSD, which is prolonged short bursts of trauma, physical traumas, violence in the past, any types of trauma can store emotionally in the body. There is a whole other world of that. I'm not going to go into that now. Of course, what I would say is if you are getting sensation anywhere, just note it down, come back to it after the breath work and research it after, because it could mean that there's something there to be released. Now, during the session, you might release it from there. You might find that you shake in that area. If you focus your attention and energy onto it and set the intention to release the energy from there, that can be really powerful as well. So moving past the physical layer is the mental layer. During the physical layer, a lot of people, of course, our mind is our biggest protector, and that's why it speaks so loudly. It's just protecting us. It wants to stay safe. It seeks familiarity. It is constantly trying to predict what is going to happen next to keep it safe. So when something brand new is happening, the body can go into shock a little bit. And of course, we're releasing those stress hormones too. So the body is like, what the is going on. People who repeatedly do this can skip this mental layer a little bit more, but usually within the first 10 to 15 minutes, there is a battle with the ego, which is your personality, your identity, and, the part of you that keeps you safe, wanting to know what is going on, describing every sensation, coughing, I can't do this, this isn't right, I'm not feeling anything, and creating a story already before it's even finished. Now, what can happen after this stage is we break then through to an emotional layer. So these thoughts will now switch to something else. It's not just a barrier. So I see it as there is a barrier. There's always a mental barrier. There is a physical and mental barrier. And you've got to break through that barrier by trusting yourself, trusting the process, trusting that there has been so much research. This is beneficial. You are here doing it for a reason. Trust yourself. And yes, it's going to feel strange, but it's a new experience that is going to stay with you and help you. And if you can break through that, other things will start to happen. So we can start having a mental and emotional merge, meaning that memories can resurface that have not quite been dealt with. So this is where it can really help people release traumas and subconscious traumas that are in the mind that we do not even know we are holding on to physically in the body. And we don't know that we are behaving and showing up in the world because of these subconscious thoughts. So yes, there's so much therapy out there. There is like eye movement therapy, there is talking therapy where you try and go back. There is timeline therapy where you go back, there's hypnosis, you go back through your life and you pinpoint when something happened and when that stayed within you and conditioned you to continue reaffirming that feeling. Even when something hurt us, we continue to reaffirm it because it's familiar, like explained earlier. So there might be stuff in our subconscious part of the brain that we have forgotten about for years. So it does mean that there is a vulnerability and that you have to trust and be willing to allow anything to come up that can come up. This is where breathwork, with not held by somebody who has trained or is trauma informed, can re-traumatize somebody. This is why beforehand you should discuss any mental issues, any known traumas that you have, because doing a really long connected breathwork session like this isn't really highly recommended for people that have repetitive trauma, that haven't dealt with their trauma, who just know they have it, they just don't know. It's better to do rounds for that type of breathwork. However, this can still be beneficial. You've just got to make sure that you're in the right headspace and you're ready to go there. Now, you're probably thinking, why would I want to go somewhere and tap into these things? Like, nobody wants to revisit old wounds type of thing. But there is this thing called catharsis, okay? And this is where we have an emotional release. You will not believe how many of us suppress feelings. When something happens in the moment, we feel that it is against the societal norm, it's disapproved, it's not allowed to show emotion as an adult. You aren't collected, you need to hold yourself together, you're a responsible adult when you suppress your feelings. That is a narrative that we have been given to keep us suppressed in this society, because when we hold on to those emotions, as I explained, it stores in the subconscious, it affects our behaviour, it stores in our cells of our body, it stores in our fascia, in our bodies, in our physical bodies, and it shows up in illnesses and injuries. Because if you have an energetic issue stored in your body, your immune system is going to be on alert all the time, wanting to fix and heal that, okay, during going through all this stress. So it's just overwhelming your immune system, it's overusing it, and it's quite frankly wearing it out. And this is where, disease and everything starts to happen. So it's almost like the narrative that was given to us is so unnatural to keep us away from the natural world, because the natural world has everything we need. And you can't buy anything with that, it doesn't make money. So if we are self-dependent, we don't line anybody's pockets. Anyway, that is another story. Sometimes people just feel the weight of something. They don't know what it is. They feel like patterns keep reoccurring, no matter how much time out they take from work. As soon as they go back, they're stressed again. There's just so much, and it's like repeated cycles. Catharsis can help release something from the body and can help release a weight, a mental load. And sometimes you don't know what it is. You don't even know after the breathwork session what it was, but the emotional release can help you feel lighter and feel like something has changed within you for the positive. Sometimes it's not even about crying. It's not about getting that type of emotional. It might be laughing. It might be making sound. It might be shouting. Anything can go at this stage of the emotional level. And usually the more surrendered a person is and their mind, they've broke past that mental barrier, it happens so naturally, which just proves how much it was needed all along. People wouldn't do this if it wasn't needed. Your body knows what you need. Just always trust. It's always protecting you. And then not everyone goes through that layer either, by the way. They can skip straight to this layer. Some people never get to feel this layer, and this is the magic one. This is the inexplainable one. No matter how much we try, science still can't go there because science still can't explain consciousness. They are trying. There's a lot of new studies and development in the area, but science can't explain it. And this layer, I'm going to compare it to a psychedelic experience. Now, it does not mean you're going to have a psychedelic trip. It doesn't mean this is a natural way to do that, okay? Because not everyone can. There is so many barriers to this stage. Maybe somebody who was used to psychedelics, who's used to surrendering control of their mind, might actually get here a bit sooner. But for most of us, it's very hard to surrender that control. And this can look like anything, just the same as a psychedelic experience. But ultimately, it is an altered state of consciousness that we can't explain. We can try and describe it in words, but it surpasses words because it's almost like an out-of-body experience. It's almost like your mind, you are playing something in your mind that is uncontrollable. For me, I've had many of these experiences where I see things and I feel like I'm in another world. A very harmonious, beautiful world. And the feeling that comes with this is sheer bliss and peace and like a joy of being. And I've also had the experience where it's just a nothing. Just nothing. But it's that pause of the mind that almost feels like a system reset afterwards. It's like, whoa. I was fully present without any time and I just drifted off. Some people do drift off to sleep. You know, so some people might say, well, maybe they've just fell asleep. Maybe they have. A person who falls asleep, like I say, their body knows what you need. Your body will give you what you need during the session. Always trust. If you needed it to fall asleep, then that's what you needed. It means you've overworked. Your mind has gone too much and you're pushing yourself too much. So always trust that. Tapping into the spiritual aspect of this, because these experiences, the spiritual experience is the spiritual layer, I'm going to call it, this consciousness layer. There is so much unexplained, but a lot of people come away from that experience feeling like they have connected to something more spiritual within themselves. And that is beautiful. To think that you can do that just by using the breath. Now, the breath itself, to me, is very spiritual. I'm someone who believes that all forms of energy has spirit. There is physical matter and then there is non-physical matter. Oxygen is a non-physical matter that surrounds us everywhere that we can't see. It's like a fish in water. The oxygen is like our water. And we need it to survive. You know, you can go for days without water. I think it's 4 days. You can go up to 40 days with no food. But you can't go very lightly more than 4 minutes without oxygen. A lot of, obviously, unless these highly trained free divers can go a bit longer. Personally, you know, if I try and hold my breath, if I hold it out with no oxygen in. I can't do that very long. You can train it by doing breath work every day, don't get me wrong. So you can train your lungs for better cardiovascular endurance by practicing CCB every day and breath holds. And you can increase the capacity of your lungs, which means that you can increase your capacity all round. But yeah, most people won't be able to hold it for more than 40 seconds, never mind 4 days or 40 days without food and water. So it just shows it's one of the most, if not the most important source of energy that we need in life. And I just think our relationship with energy is so underrated, with oxygen is so underrated. And once you have this realization of how important it is, and the fact that it is a tool that can literally help our bodies in this way, when all we have to do is give it permission and set the intention and trust it and work with it, there's something very spiritual about that. So after a conscious connected breathing session, it is so important to rest, to hydrate, and because your mind is going to be quite vulnerable, whatever experience you have, even if it was just the case of all I'd done was battle with my mind throughout, there is something to learn from that. There is no wasted CCB session. I had a session once where it was supposed to be a tantric energy session where we invite in joy energy, all about the joy. I was so looking forward to doing this session on my training. And every other session, we were doing this twice a day. We were doing full sessions twice a day, and it was exhausting. But this was maybe the second last day, and I was like, this is the one I have been so looking forward to. Basically what happened was I went into complete rebellion against it. My mind just could not get it. This was a seated session. We were usually laid down. So straight away I had some mental resistance. And the voice of the same guy who had been doing it for every other session, for some reason just grated on me that day. And I just felt angry. And then I felt like I couldn't keep up with the pace and that he wouldn't just let us crack on. All of these excuses came up why I couldn't do it and why I shouldn't be able to do it. Then I started getting angry and I started hearing everybody else releasing, and I was like, why can't I do this? And then it started transforming into a little bit of upset, like, why can't I do this? Why aren't I like everyone else? Then the penny dropped. I asked the question, when have I felt like this before? And this is where the pattern came up. And just asking the right questions at the end of a session can really help. So integration is so important. I am more than happy to give prompts to help you if you have a session where you feel like nothing happened, you couldn't do it, you couldn't break through, or even afterwards to kind of break down your experience. It's so important to integrate, reflect on your experience, take the time for yourself, try not to rush straight back into work. Otherwise, some of this energy that has come up, it's not that you release it there and then through catharsis, it's that it's come up for you to analyse, it's came up for you to address and work on and develop. You might want another session now that you know what it is, or know which direction to go down with your healing. So there is so many other purposes from the session, rather than just a release during the session. This can be continual work for a long time, but it can help evoke something. So as long as you listen to your body, listen to your mind, and journal, write down if you can, it's transforming some of that energy, it's getting clear on it. It's getting clear what came up. You'll be amazed when you put pen to paper after a session what comes out, things that you forgot. So it's quite important. But if you're doing a session with me, there will be some form of integration at the end. And I am always willing to help people with integration afterwards. Or you can book in for an integration session where we actually spend time together and talk, and I can help you move through it. As much as I can help you ask yourself the questions. I can't answer them for you. And of course, if you didn't feel the emotional benefits. You are going to have the physical benefits. Your body will have just been through a huge detox, huge bit of resilience training. You're going to feel stronger mentally. You might not feel it straight away, but your body's going to definitely be more resilient. Your lungs are going to have increased the capacity, so you will receive the physical benefits, the unseen, unfelt physical benefits that are immediate. And you've just got to trust the process, which I imagine that you do if you've signed up for this. I can't wait to meet you there. I will be asking some questions that just to make sure that you have watched this, because this is a safety brief used at the start of my sessions. If you have any other questions around CCB, please drop them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them for you. As mentioned, CCB isn't just about these long sessions that I do in person with people. They can also be used for just picking up your energy in the morning, picking up your energy in the afternoon when you're on a crash. You can do short bursts. You can just do a 1-minute quick session just to help wake you up. It can give you a shift in energy whenever you need it. Brilliant to do as a warm-up before the gym. So please do check out some of my CCB videos that have a theme. And yeah, just please give me a follow, give me a like. I'll be uploading some breathwork sessions, some meditation sessions. I am called The Heal Good Factor on Instagram. Inquiries at thehealgoodfactor.com. As an email, if you would like a one-to-one, please give me a comment if you like this video also, because it really helps boost this, gets this out into the world. Healthier society starts with self-healing. This is the number one thing that we can do. The air is free. When you pay for a session of somebody, all you're paying for is their time. And obviously, if they rented a room, the costs go towards that. But oxygen is free. So if you watch my videos, you can do this yourself for free. Thank you so much for listening. And if you are coming to do a connected session with me, good luck. I can't wait to see you there. I just absolutely love holding space for people. Any other questions, do reach out. See you there.